Welcome to the Sports Dép Podcast. Joey Alfieri, Simon Tsalikis, as always. We're with you here on this lovely Tuesday morning.
Nice.
Team Canada won a medal at the World Juniors,
Bronze
Simon.
medal, man. It's okay.
Bronze.
No?
In 20 years from now, these kids are going to be happy they won that. Like, I know you probably, it's like, well, what are you going to do with the bronze? We're Canada. We have expectations. Well, yeah, I get it. But you're going to be happy you won that bronze
Scored
medal.
a lot of goals.
Scored a lot of goals.
Scored a lot of goals for a
Scored
team
a lot
that
of
doesn't win a
goals.
gold medal.
Like, how...
I think they scored
How
13
maddening-
like last year.
Yeah.
They scored 13. I think they had like 33 going into
They get bounced in the quarters last year?
Yes.
It was a quarters. This year was a semifinal. They're getting better. Next year, they have an opportunity.
Baby steps.
Well, I don't know that it has to be baby steps. I think Canada has enough really, really good players to win this whole thing. But I think there's a couple things. I think, from a developmental standpoint, I do think, not that we're lacking, but I think just overall, something with Hockey Canada just needs to change. And I'm talking from like the very top, the way that they do business, to probably I'm not in the grassroots community, so I can't break this down. Like, my kid's too young to play hockey, so I'm not there yet. But I feel like there's something not right. And I don't know if that has anything to do with, 3 straight years of not winning this thing, getting bounced by Czechia. But the other thing is, the European teams are getting better.
Yes.
Like, the European teams are getting really, really good. And we see guys, drafted from different places that, Moritz Seider was a high draft pick and Leon Draisaitl was guys from Germany. The Czech Republic's been good. Czechia has been good for a long time. They won gold at the Olympics in 98. Like, this is a good country. And obviously you haven't even seen Russia. So to me, the rest of the world is gotten better. There's a lot of improvement there.
Yeah, I don't hit the panic button as much as like the outcry.
I'm not in the panic button.
On Monday across the sports scene on television and on radio. Like, you gotta take a step back here and you gotta think having Celebrini and Schaefer on this squad.
Simon, I know. But Simon, no, I know. I get it, Simon.
talking
But come
about,
on.
like-
But Simon, come on. You should win regardless.
Regardless.
I think you should. I think
don't know.
in 3 years, Simon, yeah, you should win regardless. One of 3 elimination games, you should beat the Czech Republic.
Yes, and maybe you stop giving up goals late in the third period. That would be ideal. But I also think that, like, whoever wins the gold any year, like, it's not like the country is not producing excellent
obviously.
18-year-old hockey players.
But why can't you get it down from a team perspective? Producing a lot of really good individual players.
I don't know enough about these European teams. Are they going back to Europe and playing, like, 5 of these guys are on one squad and 5 of these guys are on another squad, and so a little bit of familiarity? I don't know about that. Right. Can you make a change with the selection? Okay, maybe. I'm sure if you do a deep dive, I think they took their best players, and the guys that you're arguing for that weren't on were probably third-line players. So I think they put the best collective together. But again, you have like 5 or 6 guys who are playing in the NHL. One of them happens to be, I think, third in NHL scoring, and the other guy is gonna, might win the Calder Trophy. So again, a grain of salt. You like to see him play a little bit better. Something to be said about what you said, Joey. I don't mind when you're overly physical. I don't mind when you want to play mind games and stuff like that. But
They had a bit of arrogance this
But you got to
tournament.
win before you do that.
Yeah, they got a bit of
when
arrogance
you were
this
finishing
tournament.
third and getting knocked out in quarterfinals and semifinals, and you're arrogant, then that doesn't look good. So my little bit of a knock.
You didn't shake hands. You did stuff by the opposing bench. It wasn't a good.
I'm
look.
not gonna say that's not Canada, but anybody who does that, you better be able to back it up.
Yeah.
Like when Dennis Rodman did all this stuff, it's because there was several NBA titles and Defensive Player of the Year.
You know what's funny? You mentioned Dennis Rodman. I went to a restaurant with some buddies tonight.
And Dennis Rodman was there.
No, Dennis Rodman wasn't there, but they had a pizza on the menu called Dennis Rodman. We didn't get it, but it's just funny. I just found
That's
that
nice.
was a funny coincidence.
There you go. But I'm just so you're right about that a little bit. Now, does that weigh in the wins and losses? Well, something could be said that are we focused? Are we focused on assignments?
Right.
Are we focused on responsibilities? Are we focused on where we're supposed to be when you're
They
killing
could
a
score
penalty?
like nobody's business.
Yeah,
but
they
the
could.
little
but-
things, I
but
didn't do the little things well.
The cockiness, the arrogance, the talking trash, the patting on the back. You could do that when you're carrying a gold medal. When you're not carrying a gold medal, then it doesn't look as cool. So
It didn't look cool to me. Even had they won gold, there was a bunch of stuff. I was like, really, like this is what we're doing.
And I don't want to say
as a
it's
premier hockey
un-Canadian.
nation.
It
has
seems
nothing to
like
do with being un-Canadian. It's
not
dumb.
our style.
It's stupid.
And I think there's a time and a place for arrogance But I think you have to start winning before you can do that. But
The problem is you win and then you don't get to do it. If you win,
well,
the
you
whole
can
thing,
come back next year. You can be the defending gold medalist as well and do that. Not the guys that got knocked out in the quarterfinals to that same squad, right? And you're coming back and you're trying to talk trash with these guys. Stop talking trash to these guys. These guys have owned you in the last 3 games. Look, the one takeaway, the very good takeaway for Habs fans is Michael Hage was stellar.
Unbelievable.
Not to the members of Team Canada's coaching squad because he was not named as one of the 3 best players for Team Canada. Again,
What are you looking at?
what are we watching here? Like, again, are we focused on hockey?
Yeah.
Like, you watched that tournament up until the bronze medal game, and you said there was 3 other individuals that are better than Michael Hage in this tournament? Come on, man. Come on.
15 points in the tournament for Michael Hage. How many Montreal Canadiens prospects in history had more than 15 points? If I were to ask you this right now,
I'm going to say none or maybe 1.
Zero.
0.
Most points scored by a Canadiens prospect at a World Junior Hockey
I
Championship.
think Shane Corson is second.
I think so. I think
And
that's
Joshua
what
Roy
seen.
last year
Joshua
or 2
Roy
years ago?
had a couple years ago.
years
Yeah,
ago.
3 or 4 years because I
last
think he's
year.
22
couple
now.
years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So
Very
look,
impressive.
Unbelievable tournament for Michael Hage. I think he had 13 assists. It was 2 goals, 13 assists in the tournament. And to me, it's funny. I kept thinking about the podcast we had, like, I guess it was near the beginning, and people were angry at us because we brought up, like, Michael Hage in a first for Ryan O'Reilly or whatever it was at the time. Like, wasn't us reporting that or saying we would do it. It was just, that was what Barry Trotz was asking for at that time. It was a top prospect and a first-round pick. And so, to me, there's not a chance. I remember, I was always rooting for the Canadiens to make that kind of deal. Like, I remember when Washington had drafted Connor McMichael, and he was a really good World Junior player. I was like, man, Canadiens should go after a guy like that. Obviously, teams are not going to let those players go. But credit to, again, Jeff Gordon and Ken Hughes, because if you remember, Simon, they traded up to get that pick for Michael Hage. It was draft weekend, and they traded up, I think, with the LA Kings, and they ended up moving up to 21. And they didn't do so when the Kings were on the clock. Like, they made that move, I think, earlier in the day, if I'm not mistaken, and then ended up Hage fall into their lap. And I remember Kent Hughes saying in the press conference after the draft, he was like, we had Michael Hage a lot higher on our list. And I know that's what everybody has to say, but in this case, I mean, again, World Junior performance doesn't indicate anything. It doesn't guarantee future success at the NHL level. It just, to me, watching the player play, he looks very dynamic. He looks like a really smart player, and he looks like a guy that has a bright NHL future ahead of him because the numbers he's putting up at Michigan, the numbers he put up at the World Juniors, I mean, is this a guy that's closer to the NHL than we think?
I think so. I didn't think so, but watching what he does at Michigan and then getting to see him firsthand, what he did here at this tournament, I would have never thought, Joey, that we would have seen this guy come up for 2 games, burn that entry level the first year, but I think we might see that. Now, I don't know enough about how good Michigan is and how far they go in the Frozen Four and all those things, and when it comes to timing.
You're not breaking down NCAA hockey for us?
I am not breaking down NCAA hockey. So I don't know what it is, but it's kind of looking, you're getting that feel, right? And this guy's going to come up, play 2 games, and then burn that 1 year and then reassess again later on this year, but maybe in September or October, because it is congested, right? Like if Kirby Dach comes back, if Patrick Laine comes back, Evans will be back. I don't believe Newhook will be back. Some say who will, some say he won't. Let's say.
You mean for this year?
Yeah, there's too many bodies in there, right? You're gonna start waiting. Texier's still there, Valeno's still there, Anderson Gallagher. I
mean, Simon, somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody's bound to get hurt.
I get that, but I can see him coming up for 2 games and getting.
It's just that you might be in the thick of a playoff race, so you don't necessarily have the token games. Not that. No. It's never token. It's never
but
token,
I guess you can find him a few minutes out there, this or that.
Yeah.
But look, I think he's just for at least me when I was expecting him. We had that conversation about a guy like Nazem Kadri, which I thought perfect. 3 years left on his deal, great. He's good for 2 years. Michael Hage is going to be in Michigan. Then Michael Hage is going to be in Laval. Then Michael Hage can come on the 3rd line. And then Michael Hage is on the 2nd line by the time Nazem Kadri or O'Reilly or anybody you went to get with 3 years left on their deal. You're fine with that because Michael Hage will fall right into that end of that contract. He'll be getting into where he's playing at a high level. Well, it looks like this kid's a little bit ahead of the curve here. And he might be ready to go way before that.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not looking for that center anymore. You know, if they got Danault and they have Evans, they're content with them two on the back end. And if they continue to believe Kapanen is going to be the guy who's going to be able to continue to look good between Slav and Demidov.
But we don't even know if he's a center. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's
Hage?
like he's bounced between center and wing at Michigan this year. So we don't know. Like, he could be a fit. You know, he could be a fit on at wing. He can be a fit at center. I'm not sure. It just, I know I'm asking you to project like almost a year, less than a year ahead. But like, if you had to put a number out of 10, how, after watching the World Junior, how likely do you think this is a Montreal Canadian next October? The likelihood, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't mean unless you say 10 out of 10. I'm not going to hold you to it.
I'm not going to say 10 out of 10. I would have said 5.5
pre-tournament.
Pre-tournament.
Yeah.
Now I think I got to bump that up to like 6.75.
6.75.
6.75.
You just wanted to say 6.7.
No, I did not want to say 6.7.
You don't want to say 6.7?
6.7. Yeah, I just.
I'm too old to be
Joey,
saying
like
6.7.
you said, you nailed it though. What if you're telling me that he is going to play wing? That number might jump to 7.5, 8. Right?
But you could. I mean, you play him wherever.
You move on from Patrick Laine. Maybe you do an off-season move. Yeah. There's a buyout. There's this or that. But if you're just strictly going at center, if Oliver Kapanen continues to have a very good NHL season that you're content with, 50, 55 points, whatever, and playing well between Demidov and Slav, then there's no reason why he doesn't get a spot back. You didn't get Phil Danault to not come and play center next year. That was part of the process,
you
right?
Have Jake Evans.
And Jake Evans still on their contract. So I if you ask me for him to find a spot at center as early as October of this year, I'm going to say it
might be tough.
It might be tough.
Center might be tough. I'll grant you that. But I mean, I don't think it's beyond the realm of like. Ideally, again, look, the Canadians are going to do what's best for the Canadians, but the Canadians are always looking at what's best for the player. At the beginning of this season, Martin St. can say what he wants. I wasn't expecting Jacob Fowler to be called up at any point this season, and I don't think they were either. No. I think it had to get desperate. Times had to be desperate for them to get to that point.
I don't think Martin St. Louis expected 840 save percentage either.
But he did say that they expected them. When he got called up, that whole kerfuffle when it happened and they didn't let Jacob Fowler talk to the media, he said like, hey, we expected Fowler to be up at some point this season and play a couple of games. I don't think that's true. I don't think they expected that. So, but the thing is, the guy played really well in Laval. He comes up and they give him an opportunity. Now, opportunity presented itself because the other two goalies weren't making saves, but they could have gone the easy route and called up Kaapo Kähkönen and been like, hey, we're going to give this guy a try, see if he can get hot. They didn't do that. They went with Jacob Fowler. They went with a 21-year-old goalie, and 21-year-old goalies, there's not a ton of them in and around the NHL. So to me, I think they're not going to be opposed to anything. I think if Michael Hage comes in, and the proper thing is if he has a really good training camp and he fits really well, then I think he has an opportunity to make his team, obviously. But he just showed me he's closer than I thought, because I was like you. I thought, maybe, you sign him at the end of the year, he plays in a couple of games, and then spends most of the year in Laval next year. And I think that could still happen. That might still be it. He might be a 20-year-old playing in Laval. But now, again, World Junior success isn't necessarily a great indicator of what you're going to do at the next level, but it's hard to deny that the kid's smart, the kid's talented. It's a shame that, the 2 penalty shots back-to-back there didn't end up going in for him, but I think the guy showed. I mean, it's the best scoring World Junior forward player since Connor Bedard in 2023. And Connor Bedard, was the first overall pick and did some obscene things. So to me, I like your 6.75. I was going to go 6.5. That's my, 6.5. That's where I think the likelihood of him breaking camp with the Canadians next year is. Does it end up playing out or not? But I think the thing is I want to give them credit, management credit, because, how many times did we talk about, if you look at a team like Washington or a team like St. Louis, teams that, had drafted, in the back half of the first round, got themselves a Kuznetsov or got themselves a Robert Thomas.
Got themselves a Kucherov.
Got themselves a Kucherov in the second round, or a Patrice Bergeron if you want to go back that far. Canes haven't really hit there. I think the last time the Canes traded up in the first round was to get Jared Tenorti. I know Jared Tenorti played a long time, but I think he wasn't necessarily a success.
No,
in
he
Montreal.
played in the NHL. He never became a 1 or a 2.
Exactly, never became a 3 or a 4 either.
Yeah.
So to me, so when you make that trade up, but the Tenorti trade, I think, not to get too off topic, but I think they made that trade in the moment when they saw like, okay, Tenorti's on the board, let's move up. This trade, they made it well in advance and very clearly, like they had a hunch on Hage, and give them credit because, finding an impact player in the 20s is not easy. And maybe that's not what they have. And maybe this guy is not going to be it at the next level. But right now, based on what we've seen, the hands are there. The skill is there. The power, the vision on the power play is there. He's not a small guy either.
No.
Like they might have something here.
And I think he fits what I think what they like is the high hockey IQ.
Yeah.
The Canadians, there's games where, whatever, they don't bring it, and it happens over an 82-game schedule. But they're not turnover machines. Even the guys that are very offensive, like Cole Caulfield's a lot better hockey player than he was 2 years ago. Nick Suzuki is on Team Canada. And I've said, Demidov is a rookie. I don't see him lost in his own end. Kapanen fits that, prototypical Finnish forward that like our friend Arturi Lekkinen, never lost, always good in your own end of the ring. Same thing with Slav. So I think where with Michael Hage here is that kind of fits the club with that high hockey IQ. And they have that right across the board with their forwards.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see. Probably gets us 2 games. But again, no need to press. Because I think, you look at Michael Hage, you want to put him in an opportunity where he can thrive.
This is a player that should be here for the next 7 years, minimum. This is what I don't know about easily, but this is a guy who should be around a long time. Entry-level contract, second contract. This is a guy that should make an impact on this team for a long time. And I don't like getting ahead of myself with prospects. And I'm just saying, again, the World Junior is super encouraging, doesn't guarantee anything. All I'm saying is that it looks like they got themselves a really, really nice player in the 20s, which is something that,
And it's not just
you need to hit an impact player in the late first round at some point.
The World Juniors, it's also what he's doing in college.
Yeah, right now I had the numbers here. 34 points in 33 games last year at Michigan. This year he's up to 28 points in 20 games. So there's clear progress across the board there. So we'll see what ends up happening. We're getting way, way, way ahead of ourselves, Tsalikis.
Well, like you say, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but there's likelihood that we're going to see him in 2 months from now. And what
it could be.
If he comes in, and like you said, the one thing that they're a little bit too much with this club right now is the injuries. It's looked like they're getting healthy. Kaden Gooley is skating. Kirby Dock should be around the corner. More from the forwards perspective, and then Patrick Laine eventually in February. They are getting a little bit healthier, but they've had a little bit of that injury bug. So maybe he'll get that opportunity.
Tsalikis, tell me a little bit about Elixir in Laval.
Elixir in Laval, fantastic. Also going to be using Elixir in Laval the next couple of days because college. I need 2 televisions. I need one on the Habs.
Yeah.
And then I need one on college football.
Let's go.
So that's what I'm going to be doing for Elixir. Look, great spot. Been there for 25 years. If you've probably more than that, and if you've been around in the restaurant industry in this city and you can start hovering around the 25-year mark, you do it well. Check it out.
I was in play. When you walk in,
yes,
and there's like the
desserts,
the fridge, the dessert, the amount of desserts that are just
made fresh.
I know.
They make their own desserts.
I know. Yep. I know. I've had the pleasure of having a slice of cheesecake or two from that window, and it's phenomenal stuff. But it's just when you walk in, you see how impressive the display of dessert
nice spot.
is.
There, you got to walk through the restaurant. You got to see the desserts.
Yeah.
Tag one in bag, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. I just eat it there. I don't even bring it home. You don't have to tag in bag.
Oh, sometimes I take it.
You bring dessert home. You're a barbarian.
No, because I get a text message from
you're delivering
one of the ladies in my home.
You're delivering.
Where
if
are
you're delivering to the daughters or the wife.
Yeah, daughters will ask for it. On your way home, can you stop at Elixir right there? Yes, fine.
Good stuff, Tsalikis. You're a good man, Tsalikis. That's
yes,
why they call you.
I try.
They call you Daddy Uber at home.
Yes,
you're just delivering.
Relatively accurate.
Let's go. All right, Tsalikis, be good. We'll talk
sir.
again. We'll talk again tomorrow. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's Simon Tsalikis. I'm Joey Alfieri. It's a Sports Dép Podcast. You can catch us Monday through Friday on YouTube, and sometimes we're in this lovely studio. Sometimes we record from our homes. You can also subscribe on YouTube. You can also listen to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow on the Sports Dép Podcast.